Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Droid, and welcome back to the Sky Pirate Droid. This is going to be another build-a-thon. I'm building up an area for Botania. As I spoke about in the Thorncraft episode, I want to combine Botania and Thorncraft to make some useful automation systems. I'm running a little bit behind in my automation systems, but I'm kind of debating whether to show you me building the automation systems, show you the finished off automation systems, me showing you the build of the automation systems means the automation systems turn up slower because sometimes the building involves lots of steps of building different machines, putting them together in specific ways, waiting for resources. So I'm not really sure which way to go around about sort of building automation systems, but this is going to be a Botania area. So I had this idea. There's an item called a runic altar in Botania. It's one of the starts of Botania. It's one of the things used to create items in Botania. So I thought I'm going to build a giant one. So as you can see, set down the base platforms I always do for my building projects so that I've got a safe place to build from. Got some white and black stone, and I've started building off. I've just got a copy of a zoomed in picture of a Botania runic altar so that I know what shape I'm building, and I just said about building it. I use white and black coloured stone, and then for the top layer I use white coloured stone and seared bricks. The reason is so that on the mini-map it shows up as the right colour. It shows up as having the pattern on top, because the whole thing is patterned, and I wanted the pattern to show up on the mini-map because it's cute. So there's the base layer, the bottom, and then I build up the walls, and I build up the top as well. Botania is a flower-based mod, and it works off the idea of flowers generating mana either from sunlight, moonlight, burning things, explosive things, eating organic matter, eating cake, doing damage to things. There's an awful lot of things, but they also some very functional flora as well as mana generation flora that do all sorts of interesting things. So one of the things I'm interested in is a hopper hawk. A hopper hawk acts very similar to a hopper in that it picks up items that drop and it puts them into nearby chests, very similar to a vanilla hopper. The difference is, a vanilla hopper, the item needs to land on top of the hopper. A hopper hawk, the item can land anywhere within a certain distance dependent on how much mana it's being given. So if you have a nice, good mana supply, you can have a hopper hawk covering a huge area. And that's one of the things I want to work on for the kind of automation system, is so that when I do have items dropping, my hopper hawk will just suck them up and put them into a chest for me. I don't have to go around picking them up myself. Which is one of the important things for automation, because you don't want to have to constantly be walking back to the area where you've got an automated system set up just so you can pick up what the automated system has built, because the items in the wild or items on the floor in Minecraft run on a 5-minute sequence, and that 5-minute sequence means you have to go back every 5 minutes at the very sort of maximum limit, every 5 minutes, to pick up items that have been dropped. So by having things like a hopper hawk, or in other skyblocks you can have vacuum hoppers, things like that, you can avoid the necessity of doing that. It makes a lot of systems like mob grinders and things much more beneficial, much more effective as resource generators. So a little bit of problem with counting here. This was done at like 4 in the morning, so my counting brain was a little bit off, so I was miscounting placement of things. But eventually I do get everything sorted out. It takes a while to make up all the smelted bricks, seared bricks required to build it. You don't need to make grout for these seared bricks. You can just cook down cobblestone in your smeltery. Once you've got a smeltery built up, you can just cook down cobblestone in your smeltery to make seared bricks if you like the look of seared bricks. I wanted to base pretty much the entire Botania area off items from Botania, so giant versions of Botania items. So this is a runic altar, as I said. I'm also going to build some islands based on the floating flowers, which is an item that you can get in Botania, which is a small piece of greenery with a flower on top, and it just floats wherever you put it to avoid the necessity of having dirt blocks and things. I'm also going to build some elements based on the pylons, because of course this needs crystals to fly, and because this needs crystals to fly, the pylons are going to be the inspiration for the crystals. I haven't built those yet, but I wanted to get on with a bit of Botania here and there while I'm building the crystals. There's also things called mana spreaders, and this is what I'm trying to design here. I'm trying to design a giant mana spreader, and I'm going to use the mana spreaders as bridges, because mana spreaders fire beams of mana, and I'm going to have giant glass beams of mana as my bridges between places. So to build the mana spreaders, I created some lime green lamps, because the interior of the mana spreaders are almost always lime green. Whether there's a way to dye them or whatever, later on sort of the higher level mana spreaders are a different colour. I use great wood because it's roughly the same colour as the mana spreaders, and I create a giant, because they're normally one block, I create a 3x3 with the green lamp on show. Redstone lamps apparently don't need to be powered. They used to need a switch, but apparently they don't anymore. Apparently they just produce light. And then the glass as the mana beam, and I dye some of the glass lime green to look like some mana, and that gives me my kind of base of the sort of starter bridges, the giant mana spreaders. I just install a floor halfway up on the inside because this is going to become my Botania crafting area. I'm going to have a lot of my Botania crafting things like my runic altar and things inside the giant runic altar. I found an interesting thing about these planks, which are hopwood planks, which is you can't put torches on them. The blocks you can put torches on them, but the slabs you can't put torches on, even though they were on the top of the block, which is where you'd normally be required to put slabs. So this is the start of my mana spreader bridges. So I just kind of pop myself up to the right sort of height so that it lines up with the dragon's wing, and put down the base of a mana spreader. As it doesn't need levers, I kind of leave the lever out because of course it doesn't need levers, there's no point in having a lever there. And then a little bit of glass of appropriate colours, and we end up with a bridge there. I'm going to place one on the other side because this is going to go out to where I'm going to have some mana generation plants later on. But for now I'm just going to put a giant mana pool on the end, and the giant mana pool just white stone cut down with a set of microblock saws. And there's my mana beam, and then there's the mana pool on the end. I was tempted to put some water in it, but I thought it would look a little bit weird because the mana pools do fill up with blue stuff. I was wondering maybe if I could get hold of some blue slime, maybe put blue slime in my mana pool to act like kind of giant gelatinous mana. And there is the floating flower island. You can see that it's a pasteurized seed, a flower, and some dirt, and it creates a floating flower island. And these are the things that often are a great way of making your plants usable in places you wouldn't normally think they were usable because of the limitation of requiring dirt. But the floating flowers can be placed all sorts of places. They can float in midair and they still function perfectly well. So I wanted to create some giant versions of those. I had a look at them, and it appears they're just a 2 pixel cross on the bottom, a 4 pixel cross on top of that, and then a flat platform which is 10 by 10 pixels. So it was quite easy to put together, really. I wanted to build another one next to it just to kind of bounce it out, give me a little bit more space as well. So I've created myself a huge amount of extra space now where I can start my Botania work. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this comes together and how I start joining things together. There's going to be massive pipeworks in the sky to move items from place to place in the end, probably, because I'm going to have to move items from one area to another. I might, if I can get some teleportation stuff from Thorncraft, or perhaps some teleportation stuff from some of the machinery and mechanical mods, I might install a couple of teleporters to help me move around rather than using the map teleports. Because the map teleports, although the map teleports are part of the mod and are sort of like they're there in the mod, it is a little bit cheaty in my opinion. So I just gather up my Botania items, which are my pure daisies, which are made with white petals and seeds. My petal apothecaries, which is where you make your flowers by combining different coloured petals and seeds. And my Botania book. And my Botania wand. And you do need a source of water, so I'm going to get an infinite water source. I prefer the sinks to the barrels. Although they use roughly the same amount of materials, same amount of iron, the sinks do use a little bit of redstone, I think. I think the sinks use a little bit of redstone. But I prefer to use the sinks because I personally think the sinks are a little bit more effective. Now that I'd finished setting up the Botania area, I needed the Botania flowers. I only had access to the white flowers, so I had to go about growing all the rest of the flowers. And it is the same process as growing everything else. You crossbreed 2 crops. You have to do it on top of podzol, rather than dirt, and podzol is dirt surrounded by spruce leaves. So I got some podzol together and I started the process. You start the process by planting just normal flowers that you've grown up from crossbreeding normal crops, and then putting podzol between them and crossbreeding into mystical flowers. I'm not going to show you the whole process because there's 16 different species of mystical flower, and I wanted to get them all to 10-10-10, and I wanted to crossbreed them all, and you have to crossbreed them in sets because some of them require mystical flowers to crossbreed and some of them require second stage mystical flowers. So for instance, light grey requires you to crossbreed grey and white, which requires you to crossbreed black and white, which requires you to crossbreed blue and a cactus. So you can see that there's multiple stages of having to grow them up to 10-10-10 and then crossbreed them. So I wasn't going to show it all, but I was going to show you at least the start of it. And as you can see, I've got together the 3 first start ones, which are yellow, red and blue, the primary colour flowers, and these will be combined with different things, the white, a cactus for black, and some other bits and pieces to complete the rest of the colours. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to complete those off, and then I will sort of meet you guys later on when I start up with my Botania. I'm going to have a nice little area where I have all the flowers planted. You need the petals to make magical flowers, so you do need to do this to get into Botania. So that's the start of my Botania area. That's been the build for the Botania area. Thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!